I've got 11 o'clock on my phone. So good morning, everybody. My name is Simon Corby. We're going to make a start. Welcome to our Dragons Eco Den. This is the second in our event series, and our focus today is on packaging. We've got three really exciting dragons to share some insights and experience with you all. And we've got three great products that you're going to hear some more about. So this is the program for this morning. So you've got 5 minutes with me, and then I'm going to hand on to Catherine Adams, who's our Technical and Research Associate, and she leads the Plastics in Construction group. Then we've got talks from our three invited dragons. So Helen Wickham, who's the Group Head of Responsible Business Reporting at Berkeley Group, Lynn Potter, who's a Sustainability Manager at Mace, and Claire Whitney, Marketing Manager at Clayworks. And then we're going to move on to our pitches from our innovators. We've got three fantastic products that I look forward to hearing about. And then we are going to ask you, the audience, to have a think about which product you like the most. This is going to be a difficult decision, I think, but anyway, so interactive it's going to be. And then we're going to ask our dragons to make their decisions and say why they've made those decisions, and we'll finish up at 12:30. So there's quite a lot of instructions there, but basically if you just put any questions into the Q&A, that's absolutely great. If you've got enough time, we'll unmute you if you want to ask questions, and you can ask a question that way. We are recording the webinar, so please bear that in mind. So just a quick reminder, the Alliance for Sustainable Building Products, we launched in 2011 at the Palace of Westminster. So Clayworks were original founder members at that time. They've been with us all the way through. So we're an unusual organisation. We're not a trade association, we're a mission-led organisation. So our mission is to accelerate the transformation to a healthy and low carbon built environment. And so we ask our members to sign up to our mission to help us accomplish our mission. We're a busy organisation, so we have three main themes: health and well-being, resource efficiency, and product sustainability. And we do lots of really exciting events and research projects and work around those themes. So we've got a growing membership, even in these very difficult times. I'm pleased to say that our membership is growing quite fast. So it feels to me that we're in the right place in the right time. We're doing good work, and our members give us very positive feedback. So thank you everybody who is members, and I'd urge you to have a think about joining us. And a quick shameless plug for an event next week. We've got events pretty much every week at the moment. So next week we're working with our board member Jane Anderson, who's probably the country's leading guru on life cycle analysis and EPD. And we've got a really interesting group of folk talking about EPDs and from a sort of manufacturing and suppliers angle. So super discounted prices there, so do join us for that. And if you want to get involved with ASBP, then just have a chat to any of us on the call here today, and our membership information is up on our website. As I say, we've got lots of events coming up, particularly excited about our Healthy Buildings event on the 22nd of October. We've got 7 really fantastic speakers there, and we've got lots of resources up on our website as well with events that we've already done. So thanks ever so much for joining us this morning. We're going to hand on to Catherine Adams, who's our lead for the Plastics Working Group. And if you want to keep in touch with anybody, there's all our contact details there. So I'll ask Catherine to share her screen.
Hello everyone, can you see that screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
thanks.
Will do. Hi everyone. So I'm just going to give you a really short overview of our Plastics in Construction group. So we've been in existence since April last year. When we first came together, we looked at what everyone's interest in plastics were, and you can see that list there. Quite a variety. Some of our members are more interested in single-use plastics, some are more interested in plastic products and substitutes in the construction industry. But we really wanted to work together to better our understanding and generate alternatives and solutions. So we're very much a collaborative stakeholder group. We're cross supply chain, so we have members from the manufacturer, contractor, designer, waste management base. We're looking at identifying challenges, and that's and then solutions for that. So that's why you're here today for the Dragon's Den event, to look at solutions for reducing some of our single-use plastic packaging, and work very collaboratively with other organisations in plastics and construction sector. So this is our membership. I won't go through everyone. But we are small and nimble, but we're also keen if anyone wants to get involved, have a chat to us. We also have a number of academic and research project supporters as well. So our plastic group members do quite a few things individually and company and with us. Mace today is one of our dragons, so they'll probably talk about their Time to Act campaign. We have the Interact project, which is having, I think it's got a workshop this afternoon on a plastic-free house, a webinar. So maybe check that out if you've got the time. And others have organised community events and business events. We also have plastic group members that are providing alternatives to plastic products. So the range there you can see from the pictures, including copper tubes, windows, clay blocks and aluminium guttering. So what do? We try and develop practical and helpful guidance and solutions. So today we're at the Innovating box, hosting a Dragon Dens event. Other things that we've done is we have a very good interactive stakeholder map on the website, which you can drill down to see who's doing what in plastics and see the different linkages and also different reports and policies. We also wrote an introductory guide. This was launched back in June. It's interactive, so if you press on one of the question marks, a window will come up and then hyperlink to other information where relevant. And that's really just trying to describe what are the issues, why is it important, who's doing what are the drivers. We're hoping to update that shortly, so please do give us any feedback on it, or if you would like yourselves included in it, more than happy to have a chat with you on that. And there you can see that's what it looks like if you so we've already had one Dragon's Den event. We had an installation event back in June. Some of you may have been there. The winner was Biome, and as you can see from their statement, we hope that the whole Dragon's Den event helped them going forward. So obviously today you're at the packaging one, but we do have another 3 scheduled, 1 per month till the end of the year. So do get in touch with us if you think you would like to be a dragon possibly, or even if you'd like to be a pitcher. Okay, so I'll hand back over to Simon now, and I hope you enjoy the event. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. So that's excellent. That's a nice introduction to our plastics working group, which is a really fun bunch of people to work with, really keen and enthusiastic, motivated people. It's a pleasure to be working with everybody. So I'd like to now introduce Helen Wickham. So Helen's going to talk to us about her insights and experience. She's Group Head of Responsible Business Reporting at Berkeley Group. Helen, perhaps if I can ask you to share screen, and it's looking good. Excellent. All right, I'll hand over to you. Thanks, Helen.
Brilliant. So good morning, everyone. As Simon kindly introduced me, I'm Helen Wickham. I'm Head of Responsible Business Reporting at the Berkeley Group, otherwise known as Berkeley. I'm going to say Berkeley throughout, otherwise it gets a bit tedious. So to give you a bit of an introduction to Berkeley, we're a property developer building homes and communities predominantly across London, Birmingham and the southeast of England. So I've sort of selected a few different images here to give you an idea of sort of the developments we create. So ranging from mixed use communities, including sort of vast green spaces, schools, community infrastructure, and networks. So we've got Kidbrooke Village here on the top left, which is one of our sort of long-term regeneration schemes in London. We also look to try and refurbish and regenerate historical buildings. So in the top right here, we've got Atkinson Morley Hospital, which in its time was one of the greatest sort of brain surgery hospitals in existence. We have more traditional housing. So bottom left, you can see one of our developments in Wallfield, so sort of slightly outside of London, more traditional. And then we also have iconic sort of developments changing the London skyline. So on the bottom right there, you can see One Blackfriars, which is one of our St George developments. So one of the key things we try to do at Berkeley is we pride ourselves on focusing on large scale and complex regeneration developments. So these often can be up to sort of 6,000 homes and take over 30 years for us to develop. We're made up of 6 autonomous brands, which you can see at the bottom of my slides there. So Berkeley, St Edward, St George, St James, St Joseph and St William. In 2019-20, across the group, we had approximately 70 sites under construction, ranging from sort of demolition and excavation projects all the way through to sort of completing. We had over 2,800 direct employees, and on any given day we have approximately 8,000 contractors working across our sites. And in the last year we delivered just over 3,000 homes, and that included approximately 10% of London's new build homes. So to give you a bit of background as to what we've been working on in terms of waste, I suppose like others in our industry, waste isn't a new topic. In fact, sort of we've had waste, reducing waste to landfill targets since sort of pre-2010, so at least 10 years now. Although they have led to have led to action, predominantly that's led to recycling rather than sort of eliminating waste or reusing waste. And we just still produce a lot in the construction industry, as you can see on the right-hand side. So in 2018, that led us to develop a new commitment. So that was to work with our supply chain to develop a zero waste strategy focusing on key wastes, including plastics. So our first step was to initiate a waste and plastics working group across the business. So this included representatives from a broad range of teams, from technical, commercial, construction and sustainability. I suppose our first action was really to analyse our data in a bit more detail. We do have data from a lot of our sort of MRFs, as well as on-site visual skip dives we did, etc. So looking at our data in a bit more detail to identify both priority waste streams in terms of volumes and key materials, but also looking at the contractors that were producing those waste streams. As a result of that, we sort of identified some key internal and external stakeholders that we might want to engage with. So we had a zero waste workshop with around 50 senior stakeholders. Those included from within our own business, as well as contractors, suppliers and end destinations, to collaboratively explore what a zero waste future could look like. And as a result of that, we've been working on our zero waste strategy, which we're hoping to launch in the next few months, really focusing on designing out waste, our procurement practices and engagement. In terms of plastics specifically, so actual day-to-day project initiatives happen in our autonomous operating companies. So I've just selected a few of the things that some of our divisions have been working on. So pretty much across the board, we've conducted plastic production reviews and implemented action plans. So that's looking at sort of the basics such as sustainable stationery, all the way through to what we're doing in our canteens, to what we're doing out on site. One of our divisions has been implementing consideration of single-use plastics within their tender assessments as sort of a trial. So the wording of that is sort of saying that there is to be no single-use plastics, and any plastic that is brought onto site has to be able to be reused. That has sort of led to that division, as well as some of the others, implementing reusable packaging systems. So including sort of returnable fabric covers for some of our key products that are being brought onto site, mainly around sort of kitchens and bathroom areas. We've also identified opportunities to recycle products that there isn't a non-plastic alternative, such as hard hats and sort of protective materials that are in place in the homes before we hand over. So that's been really interesting, trying to look into the recycling of those products. And another one, just to ensure that we are collaborating with others in our industry. We joined the ASBP working group in January of this year, and we're also part of the Supply Chain Sustainability Schools Waste and Resource Efficiency Group. I suppose key for today is that we're always looking to improve and looking for new initiatives. So we're really interested to hear what the pitches are offering and to hear how that can help us as a company improve our performance. So yeah, really looking forward to today.
Thanks, Helen. That's excellent. Yeah. So if you've got any questions for Helen, just pop them in the Q&A and we'll ask Helen to keep an eye on that, and we can respond to that as we move along. So thank you very much. So Helen, I'm going to now hand over to Lynn Potter. So Lynn is Sustainability Manager at Mace, and so Lynn will be sharing her insights and their experience and their campaign work. So Lynn, if I ask you to share your screen and pop your slides up, and I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Thanks very much for having me here today. As I say, Lynn Potter, Sustainability Manager at Mace Group. So I've been with the company about 4 years now, predominantly on construction sites in and around London. If you're not familiar with Mace, we were founded in 1990. We've since become a multidisciplinary consultancy and construction firm, over 6,000 employees, over 2 billion turnover. And we've got 4 Mace core values, as you can see there, and integrity and always doing the right thing is where our work in sustainability sits. And just to give you a flavour of some of the jobs that we've been involved in, we've got London Eye there, Battersea Power Station Phase 2, which we're currently working on. The Shard, we've had a long programme of work at Heathrow Airport. Buckingham Palace, we're currently again doing a long framework of works for mechanical and electrical upgrades, and also the Olympic Park from London 2012. So in terms of the actual work we've done on plastics, we already had an established waste and circular economy working group within our sustainability team. But in 2017, we decided we need to step that up and focus specifically on single-use plastics and what we were doing, particularly in the construction side of the business. So we set up an action plan focusing on corporate and construction targets and how we were going to tackle those. And we looked at quantitative data from our optimised bespoke reporting system. And what we found was obviously the detail that we've got and the data that we have, what we've got that we can measure is much more easy to be able to make those improvements. In 2018, we then had the implementation of our Time to Act campaign, which you can see some of the infographic there. And the idea behind this was to get the company all collectively to engage in this. It's not just on the sustainability team and what we can do and act on single-use plastics. We also set up a number of trial sites. So these were predominantly in London, but projects are at different phases. So we could trial different products, whether it was elimination, alternatives or reduction in single-use plastics. Last year, we then moved into awareness campaigns. So A Plastic Ocean that you can see there is a documentary film, and we did a special screening at the start of the year for Mace clients and contractors. And we've since had screenings across the country in the UK, also in New York and Dubai, and engaging all different parts of our supply chain in awareness and why we want to act on plastics. We've also got a little poster at the bottom there from our volunteering campaign, and this was September, October last year, global campaign for all sites to get involved, and collectively they cleaned up about 2 tonnes of plastic waste from beaches or community parks near our projects. So this year the focus was embedding into business as usual. So this has been focused on comms. So we have monthly sustainability articles, which you can see an example there. And also things like working with ASP as an external partner, things that we can learn from them and also hopefully contributing towards the industry improvements as well. So you've got the Plastics and Construction Guide there. And just recently we did a mini campaign for Plastic Free July. Obviously been very virtual and remote at the moment. It was very much a comms campaign, but highlighting the resources that are available to our teams for work and at home. So just a summary of some of the things that we've covered corporately and in construction. So Optimise, I mentioned, is our bespoke reporting system. So making sure that we've got that quality of data each month and it's not just showing as mixed waste. We've got the detail that it's segregated out into plastic. We've got the options for reuse as well as energy recovery and recycling. And we've had a number of awareness campaigns that I've just highlighted. Just recently, we've launched a catering standard. So this is something where we've got a lot of caterers across all of our particularly construction sites, but other sites as well. We want them to adhere to that new standard now, and it acts as a bit of a checklist of what we expect and where we'd like to see them go with single-use plastics. We've been engaging with the supply chain. So we've got a massive supply chain. So contractually for tier ones, kind of goes into the most contracts point there, that we can include clauses to make sure that if they are bringing things to site, similar to, as Helen mentioned, that they've got a justification form. So they've got a reason why they're bringing that to site, if at all. And other savings that we've made, particularly with an MEP contractor. One MEP contractor has switched from their single-use plastic bags for all their MEP modules. And that's a saving of 16 million bags a year, which equates to about 40 tonnes of plastic, single-use plastic, eliminated every year from their processes. We've also got plastic-free sites, and this is a scorecard that we've set up to encourage sites that it's not just getting rid of single-use plastic cups. They need to complete a number of actions to be able to achieve that. And that's a standard that they can show as a site then that they have achieved for 6 months before renewing. Also working with waste procurement, so working with our strategic partners with things like PPE, signage, all that sort of thing, that we've got long, short and medium term plans with them as well. And we also use the BRE system Yellow Jacket, particularly again on our construction sites, and including actions in there that when you go out on site, plastics is something that we want them to be reporting on and looking for when they're doing their site tours. And finally, just some of our achievements. So the fact that we have a Mace Plastics working group, I think it's really positive. We meet on a monthly basis. There's always lots of things that we're working towards and that we want to achieve. We've got champions also across the business. So our Time to Act champions are anyone in the business that's not sustainability that wants to be involved in this agenda. And that's proved really useful in having people with different expertise, different insight that's able to share their knowledge with us. And also working with various external groups as well. And just the images we've got there, the Time to Act, this is our internal resource on our intranet pages. There is some information also if you go onto the Mace website, but on our internal resource, there's lots of information there for all of our sites, whether construction or consultancy. And we're constantly updating that as well. And this is the plastic-free scorecard, or a snapshot from it. So there's a number of prerequisite actions and optional actions. And this has proved really useful in engaging our sites and showing them where to at least start. If they don't know where to start, they can refer to this scorecard and they know where to work up to from there. And finally, just a shout out to ASBP. Obviously, we've been part of the group for a little while now, I think since April last year. And that's proved really useful in, again, being able to share our information with them and also lessons learned back to us as well, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Lynn. That's really useful. What a lot of work gone into that. So fantastic. So a couple of questions that have come in. So thank you for those. Keep your questions coming in. So there's one for Helen. Helen, if I can ask you to click on the Q&A, and there's a question in the Q&A for Lynn. So perhaps if I can ask you both to click on that and respond to that, and you'll be able to see those questions and our Dragon's responses. So thank you. So I'm going to hand over to Claire now. So Claire is Marketing Manager at Clayworks and is our last Dragon today. If Claire, I ask you to introduce yourself. We're going to be running your slides from our side of things. And so thank you, Lynn, and over to you, Claire. Okay. Have we lost you, Claire?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, hi. Can everybody hear me? Any problems?
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you. So that's great. Thank you.
Nervous. Thanks, thanks, Simon. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks, Richard, for running the slides for me. I'm Claire Whitney, as Simon said, from Clayworks. We're based down in Cornwall, and that's where we research, develop, and manufacture clay plasters. Now, for anybody who doesn't know anything, what clay plasters are, next slide, please. For anybody who doesn't know what clay plasters are, they're actually ceiling and wall finishes that are made from entirely natural materials, and they replace the need for gypsum plaster and paint. And one of the beauties there is that paint contains a lot of plastics. It normally contains synthetic binders, which are made from plastics. So clay plasters have absolutely no paint at all. They're all made from they're all pigmented with natural minerals. So the earth minerals come in all of these different colours, and it means that when you use a clay plaster, you never ever have to paint it, which eliminates a lot of plastics. Our specialty is researching and development of lots of different kinds of plasters, lots of different textures, lots of different colours, and lots of different aesthetic finishes. We're very much a research and development company. We're continually researching. We're working on a lot of big projects right now to make our products better, more robust, and better able to compete on the long term with plastic-based products. So we're always looking for new ingredients, novel ingredients, and looking to become a more viable alternative to plastic-based products, which obviously will stand up to a little bit more knocking around. So we're looking increasingly to become a company that can replace the use of paints in building sites. One of the advantages of clay plasters is that it can replace the need for concrete, not a plastics product. Next slide, please. And so we, with all the aesthetics and textures and colours, we can come up with lots of different finishes, so that other types of plastic-based products or concrete-based products can be eliminated. Clay plasters are also really good at creating these different textures, again replacing the need for plastic-based products to create wall effects, and we can actually even recreate the aesthetic of round earth. Next slide, please. So that's a clay plaster replacing pure natural round earth aesthetic. So because all of the clay plasters are natural, we are regarded as one of the most sustainable finishes for interiors. That's widely regarded regarding, and I'm just going to talk you very quickly through the embodied carbon developed by RICS here to try and explain why we have so little embodied carbon. So it all starts at sort of 1 o'clock on your screen there, where raw materials are extracted. Clay plasters are made from materials that are readily abundant, close to the ground. They don't require a lot of energy in their material extraction. And the next part is the transport. Unfortunately, we're unable to do a lot about that, but we do source most of our materials from south of England. And in the manufacturing place is where we really save on a lot of energy, because there is no manufacturing as such. We just simply blend formulas of natural materials and natural pigments. So there's no heat, there's no water, there's no synthetics, no plastics, no chemicals. We create absolutely no waste during our manufacturing process, and there's no pollution and no wastewater, obviously. So at the end of the life, next slide, these clay plasters that are on a wall here, they can actually just be taken off the wall and put back into the ground. feasibly, that depends on them being on a compostable substrate. So there's an increasing number of compostable substrates: wood, clay, straw-based, and wood fibre-based substrates. And all of our products come in brown paper bags. So we eliminated all plastic packaging from our products several years ago. There is a price to pay for that. The brown paper bags have a shelf life. It means we can't create huge amounts of stock. It's not feasible for our distributors to carry a lot of stock. So we're always looking at packaging, but right now it is coming in pure brown paper bags. And then when if there's any waste on our landfill site, which there shouldn't really be, anything can be saved for use. If there is anything, it can just all go into the compost bin or straight back into the ground. Certainly the contents can go straight back into the ground. So we have pretty much a zero waste product from start to the very end of its lifestyle. And the only problem we have really is the plastics that are required in packaging of pallets. So anybody got any ideas for alternatives for plastic pallet wrapping? We're all ears. We use biodegradable plastics for wrapping our samples, but again, always looking for alternatives. So we're exploring wool and paper-based alternatives for our samples now, to try and become completely plastic-free. So moving on to the next slide, where clay plasters save huge amounts of energy is, again, mainly on the paint. So the bottom half of that chart, all those red bar charts, they're all sort of other industry products, and the bottom one is paint. So the top half, the sort of pale orange bars, are our products. So you can see on a relative scale, we compare very favorably, and what we do is we eliminate that need for paint entirely through the process. So there's with the paint has this huge carbon footprint because of the manufacturing process. We can also replace the need for other plasters like lime and or other finishes such as cement, which have a higher footprint. Next slide, please. So again, another chart just showing the embodied energy of paint and some of the other products. We're down there fourth from bottom, and again comparing favorably on the embodied energy there. So clay plasters are also very healthy. Next slide, please. So, sorry, back to that slide. So calculations done by the Materials Council there, they estimate that clay plasters will save around 2.4 kilograms per carbon for each meter squared of wall finish with a clay plaster finish compared to conventional wall build-up with gypsum and paint. So just another chart sort of hammering my point home, sorry to go on. But moving on to the material safety, where clay plasters also contain no hazardous materials, no ozone, no formaldehyde, no VOC, no flame retardants, and they actually help to eliminate electromagnetic radiation. The air quality is enhanced by clay plasters. Next slide, please. Because they're completely toxin-free. There's no plastics again. There's no microplastic, no synthetics, no lead, no asbestos, no PCBs, no VOCs. So all that means is that we contribute to very high air qualities. And if anybody's looking to achieve well-being standards in their architectural projects, we tick a huge amount of boxes. Obviously not going to go through all of those, but that's the number of boxes that we tick. The other thing about clay is because it remains raw, it's never fired. It never changes state, so it doesn't set like a paint or a varnish. It continually absorbs water and releases water back into the air, which means it regulates the indoor air humidity at around 40 to 70%. And this is known as moisture buffering, and there's a lot of attention about this right now because it is the optimum and indoor relative humidity level for optimizing health of the immune system. It's also the level at which indoor viruses and bacteria are least likely to survive, including, according to some studies, the SARS virus. So we're getting quite a lot of interest about all of that right now. So clay works pretty hard to keep that indoor air humidity at that level. It's a process known as breathability, and that breathability also helps reduce microbe and mold control, reduces the formaldehyde, contributes to stress and sleep, and in particular it helps with asthma because it's an indoor humidity level that dust mites struggle to survive. So, as I said, a lot of interest in that relative humidity now from scientists around the world, leading to some quite exciting research projects where clay also helps reduce the sound and the, next slide, yeah, and also helps with glare. It diminishes glare, leading to a lot of visual comfort, and air quality is obviously one of the most important concepts for mental health in the workplace, and we would go so far as to say that the home or any other place. So the founders of Clayworks are fire certificates. Sorry, we had to prove that clay doesn't burn, but obviously completely fire retardant naturally. So the founders of Clayworks have got a 25-year history in working with natural building, earth and lime, and eliminating all synthetic products. My background is actually more in business, which I think is why I've probably been invited today. So I've spent 18 years as a high-growth business startup consultant. I've worked with a lot of sustainable brands such as Cornish Sea Salt, Finisterre, and Clayworks, and a packaging company called FlexiHex. So I've helped prepare a lot of pitches. I've heard a lot of pitches, so I'm really looking forward to hearing from these three companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. Fascinating presentation, and what a fantastic product. So one of the sort of UK success stories, I think, for sustainability. Thank you very much. All right, so there are three dragons. There's quite a few questions come in, Claire, on the Q&A. So perhaps if I can ask you to multitask, and something ladies are very good at, of course, and listen and type at the same time. So we're going to move on now to the pitching part of our session today. So I'm going to ask Richard to tee up our first video. We've asked a 2-minute video to introduce their bit of information about it and what the product does, and why it should win today at our Dragon's Den. So Richard, perhaps if I can ask you to share your screen, and we'll tee up our first video. So this is Amir Gross from Treetop Biopack. So Amir is with us today. So we've got 2-minute video, and then we're going to hand over to so slightly disconcerting Clark, and all I can see is Claire's finger. Maybe, Amir, if I can ask you to speak, take yourself off mute and ask you to speak, and then you'll appear in the box. If
you mute yourself, Simon, you'll disappear as well. Yeah. Well.
All right. Hello. Good morning, everyone. And are we starting the video first?
Let's go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amir Gross, and I'm the owner of Treetop Biopack. I've been in the plastic packaging industry for about 15 years. 3 years ago, I decided to make a change and move to sustainable packaging, focusing on green alternatives to plastic. I've set up Treetop Biopack to bring to the market the latest innovations in compostable packaging. We developed a range of innovative alternatives to common plastic packaging products. The solutions have similar properties, similar look and feel as conventional plastic, but have the huge advantage of composting once discarded. In the range, we have a compostable shrink wrap used to pack things like insulation and wood. We have compostable stretch film used for covering, transport, protecting components, and so forth. We have compostable bags, compostable adhesive tape as well. All these materials, when they are disposed of correctly, would compost and return safely to nature, not leaving any microplastics or pollutants behind. They are also bio-based, so made from renewable resources, reducing dependency on fossil fuels. The construction industry produces about 50,000 tons of plastic packaging waste. That's about 25% of the plastic waste by the industry. Much of that plastic waste is incinerated, causing toxic fumes. About 40% is sent to landfill, only adding to soil and sea pollution. Compostable packaging offers an environmentally friendly and circular solution, from plant to packaging to compost and then to plant again. The packaging materials that Treetop brings to the market are the latest innovations in bioplastics and will allow the industry to reduce its plastic footprint. Thank you.
Thanks, Amir. Really interesting product you have there. So I'm particularly excited by this. So, so we've got a Q&A session now with our dragons. So if I ask maybe Helen to take herself off mute and fire away with a few questions, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Amir. That was really interesting presentation. You mentioned in it that the compostable packaging you offer has a similar look, feel and properties to conventional packaging. I suppose as an end user or the end point for that packaging in construction, how would our teams or operatives know that this is, I suppose, a better product for the environment, and then how to segregate that, maybe if there's a mix of conventional plastics in your compostable packaging arriving on our sites?
Yeah, hi, thank you. The materials do look the same as conventional plastic. I've kept here a few things just to show you. So this is stretch film. Okay, yeah, it looks like a normal stretch film, but this compost, it's home compostable actually. It's would disappear from within a few weeks. Or adhesive tape. Here, tape. Just looks like regular tape, but again, compostable and bags as well. Again, they will disappear from the environment. Yeah, these materials do need to be somehow marked, printed. It's best to print them compostable. The materials will not go to the construction site direct. It comes as a packaging for something else. So we do need to work with the manufacturers of insulation, of anything else, and ask them to use printed materials. And on the construction site, people will need to be educated to say, look, these materials that say compostable, they need to be separated. Materials need to be separated anyway. So if you'll have a dedicated area for compostable materials, you'll be able to take everything to dispose of it correctly. The good thing about a construction site, I think, and I don't know much about construction, unfortunately, but it's that it's kind of a closed loop site. You control what's coming in, you control how it's handled and how it goes out. So you'll be able to put everything together into a central composting bin, and yeah, products will go to the correct facility.
Thanks, Amir. Claire and Lynn, I'm just going to ask you to unmute and just sort of free for all, if you would. So,
can you hear me?
So, Lynn, are you? Yeah, Claire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Samir, that looks amazing and would certainly solve a lot of our problems. Are your products already in the market?
Yeah, the products are already in the market. They're used for different things. You know, my focus was always the food industry, and so the food industry is doing a lot of work on that. But recently did some work with construction companies, and they're starting to look at it. And I think it's all relatively new in the construction industry. And I saw that also from your presentation. Already really started with Blue Planet and what's called the Blue Planet effect. So I'm really glad that the construction industry is also looking into that, and we're finding a solution for them.
How does the price compare with non-compostable packaging?
Prices are usually 2 to 3 times more than conventional plastic. We're expecting these prices to come down eventually when this industry will be as large as conventional plastic. Obviously, plastic is a huge industry, subsidized, and has very good efficiencies. Compostable materials, bioplastic materials, the industry is not as developed, but it is growing. As the demand for these materials is considerably growing, again, mainly in the food industry, there's a lot of pressure from consumers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is your route to the market? Who are your customers? Are you speaking with end customers, or do you work with distributors, big packaging companies, and sell via those?
We work directly with companies, with manufacturers, and try to supply to them. We are part of a group, part of a larger group, and we have our own distribution in the UK and globally. So yeah, that's the route to the market, to bring the things in and just prepare them and sell them to the market.
Okay, all right, that's great. Thank you.
Hi,
Thanks,
Amit.
Claire.
A quick question if you can fit it in.
Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. You mentioned about if it's composted at home, it's domestic, it will fine, it will break down. If it was brought to our site, for example, and we've got products that are shrink wrap, what would you recommend for us? Would it need to go to commercial composting, or would it be mixed in with something else?
It goes to a commercial. It goes to a commercial composter who would compost it with something else. The materials on its own, I mean, if you take this bag and just leave it somewhere, it will not compost. It needs the bacteria, it needs the environment, the bacteria to eat it, basically. And what happens to these materials in the heat and the humidity of the compost? They start breaking down, fragmenting, until they're small enough for the bacteria to eat them. You can say it's small enough for them to put in their mouth. They break down and the bacteria eats them, and what you are left with is compost, which is a natural and organic material. The same thing that you buy in the garden center. So it would need to go to a composter. Obviously, you're going to be using a lot of it. It's not you can't put it in your backyard. You're going to be using a lot. You're using a lot of materials. It goes to professional composters, industrial composters, and there are plenty of them in every country. You send the materials to them, and they will compost it. They'll take it through an industrial composting process.
And just one final point. Have you looked at getting a composting standard at all? I believe there's an EN standard within Europe. Is that something that you consider at all?
The materials are, all the materials that we bring are somehow certified. There are different certification, there are different certifying bodies. So there's the EN certification number, which is a European one. There are numbers, there are standards for Australia, for the US, and the materials meet those standards. Depend on the material, they each have their own one. But they're all, anything that we bring is certified to meet international standard and has been tested and is certified to be compostable.
Can I just jump in there? Are they all bio-based? They're all plant-based, are they?
They are mostly bio-based, yes, but usually these materials are not 100% bio-based. And this is something that needs to be understood about bio-based and fossil-based materials. So you can take a fossil-based material and make it compostable. Okay, so something that derives from oils, engineer it, chemically engineer it to be compostable. On the other hand, you can have, by the way, you can have bio-based materials that are not compostable at all. You know, like PET bottles, 100% bio-based, but it will last hundreds of years. So the materials are usually a mix of bio-based and fossil-based materials to give them the properties that you need, but at the end to make sure that it does compost. And the focus is really on the end of life of the product, how it's done. Because even if you recycle plastic, even if you recycle a material, you still get plastic. The only way to get rid of plastic is to burn it. You can recycle it maybe a few times, but you get more plastic materials that eventually will end their life somewhere. So all the polymers that it's made of are compostable.
Fantastic. Do we have time for more questions? Am I dominating?
Oh, you're muted, Simon.
Yeah, you're fine, Claire. Just a couple more. Yeah, or Lynn or Helen. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to dominate. I just wondered what the what is the sort of lifespan of say the pallet wrap, for example? Could it sit on a pallet for a lengthy amount of time for stock holding?
Well, compostable materials, but by nature, they are kind of built to break. They're not supposed to last a long time. We recommend, but I think they have a reasonable amount of time that we recommend to be used within a year of supply. But it is wise to replenish the stock and to take a reasonable amount of stock, you know, and then replenish it and make sure you rotate it as well. I think it's a reasonable amount of time for the material. Obviously, it should not be kept outside in the for too long. And yeah, there is a limit here. Maybe for if some in the construction industry, if you leave a pallet outside for 6 months, I would tell you, look, this could be a problem for the material. But if it's stored inside for a year, that should be it would be fine.
Thank you.
A quick one from me. So you mentioned you're sort of new to the construction industry itself. Are you aware of any suppliers that have engaged with you, or have you initiated any conversations with sort of key manufacturers or suppliers in our industry to date?
On a very low scale.
Yeah.
The focus so far was really on the food industry, the fresh produce industry, meat, bakery, and construction. We had a few people who contacted me, and I'm working with one company who are doing a trial, but not on a grand scale. And yeah, but yeah, I think it's, you know, once I kind of learned the industry. And what you do, you know, I think it's an absolutely good solution for a lot of packaging that is used.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thanks, Amir. You survived that remarkably well. So well done. Congratulations. Okay, so we'll say thank you for there's quite a few questions that have come in on the Q&A function. For you, Amir. So if I can ask you to have a look at, if you just click on the Q&A, you'll see the sort of questions that have come in there. If I can ask you to type the answers, and then we're now going to hand over to our next pitch. So Clive Rumble. So Clive, if I can ask you to take your camera off so that we can see you. So Clive's in Cardiff today, and works for Trioplast, and the product that Clive's going to be talking about is Trio Loop. We're going to watch the video. Clive, if you perhaps take yourself, put your camera on so that we can see you, and so at the minute I can just see your name on your
camera. It won't come on. It's for some reason it's disappeared and won't allow me to come back on.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's not worry for now. We'll watch the video first,
Yeah,
shall we?
we'll tee up the video and we'll come back to you in a second, in which case we may well have sorted out the gremlins, which inevitably occur. So,
Okay.
yeah, so just bear with us. All right, so thanks,
Okay.
Richard.
If you could mute yourself, Simon.
I am, yeah.
Good morning. My name is Clive Rumble. The company I work for is Trioplast, who are based in Denmark and Sweden. The product I would like to discuss today is called Trioloop Stretchwood Film. This product is produced of LDPE, which contains 50% recycled polymers. The purpose of this film is to protect against all weathers when delivered to site. This product was invented to reduce the carbon footprint by 31% to give our customers sustainability. Trioplast are the only company worldwide to produce this type of product. The product has two main functions. As a major plastics producer, we feel it is our responsibility to decrease the amount of virgin-based polymers into our films to lower the carbon footprint levels. The second is due to the UK and European governments introducing a plastic tax on all plastic packaging which does not contain 30% recyclable materials. Trioplast have taken the lead on this and are now supplying this product into the UK with great success. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Clive. So I'm not sure that we are going to see Clive.
No, it's just coming up saying that if for some reason the video will not start on Zoom. It's asking me to restart the video, then there's a balloon coming up saying that we can't restart.
All right, Clive.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we'll just have to go with it and ask our dragons to take themselves off mutes and pitch in. So I'm going to just hand you over to you three, and you can ask Clive some questions.
Hi Clive, thank you for your presentation. Really interesting to hear as well, particularly in terms of the plastic packaging tax. You mentioned it's 50% recycled products that make up your product. What's then the recyclability or the availability of recycling that product? Once again, is it sort of a closed loop recycling potential?
Hi Helen. We actually got our own recycle plant in France. So this product is basically 50% of PCR, which is post-consumer waste, rather than post-industrial waste. So it's a clean product which we buy back in-house, wash it, then recycle it with our virgin product. We've tested it to round about between 8 and 10 times you can recycle it. So after the 8th or 10th time, then we bring it back in house, so that we make waste bags out of it.
Thank you.
Could you just describe the product to me? I'm not quite envisioning it and its exact use. So who would the customers be, and how would the product be used?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Claire. Our product is mainly used by the brick and block guys of this world, Wienerberger, Forterra, Ibstock of this world, and it's mainly to keep the product clean and dry. Some block you can have wet and dirty on site, and some bricks have got to be clean and dry. So this product could be on site for maybe 3 or 4 months at a time. So then you have so it
acts a little bit like a tarpaulin type thing.
Yes, it's basically when Amir was on about stretch film, this is a similar product where it's a hood, it's a thick gauge hood,
that gets stretched and welded over the pack of product.
Okay.
So it's 100% waterproof.
Okay, fine. And how does it compare with its competitors in terms of price?
Well, at the moment we haven't got any competitors because we are the only producer that can actually make this product to market.
Okay.
And price from virgin price to this price is around about 6% higher. And the only reason for that is that it's because it's recycled product. It's slightly slower to produce, to extrude again.
Okay.
So the production cost is slightly higher.
And your sort of marketing strategy then is sales based, is it? It's just going straight to the big construction manufacturing companies.
Absolutely correct. We are dealing with Rockwell, with Ibstock, with Forterra, all the big guys at the moment are bought into this.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Hi, Clive.
Hi.
I think that's really good that you're doing a bit to reduce the amount of virgin plastics that you're using in your materials. I just wondered, with the switch obviously increasing to alternatives, how do you have surety that there's going to be enough feedstock of the quality of plastics that you need to go back into your materials, or how do you monitor that?
We monitored that. We've got around about at this time we've got the minimum of 10 years guaranteed supply. By then we are now looking at an alternative product which is sort of fossil free. So that there's going to be a step where people are going to move away from virgin onto a true look product, and then the market that may move away from oil-based films altogether in the next maybe 4 or 5 years. We've already got a Trio Green film, plant-based film, on test at the moment, but we're not ready for market on that yet.
Okay, lovely, thank you.
Another one from me, Clive. You mentioned that, I think you said, and apologies if I was wrong, but I think you said in your presentation that you're based in sort of the Sweden area, and you said, I think your recycling facility is in France. So what's the carbon footprint of the product that you're providing in terms of the travel between sort of the different distribution and recycling facilities and end users?
Okay, the total carbon footprint without transport is around about 56%.
Okay.
So then you bring the transport back into that. It reduces down to 31%.
Thank you.
But of course, sorry, but what I'm going to say is that when we bring the goods back in from France back into Denmark, where we are based, it's obviously backloads. So we don't generate 2 lorries; we only generate 1 backload.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Dragons, how are we doing? I think we've grilled Clive. Any last questions or issues that we haven't covered?
There is one on the Q&A, Simon, a quick one.
Yeah, do you want to read it out, Richard?
Sure, this is from Gordon Watts, who says, has consideration been given to the agricultural market, i.e. bale wrap?
Yes, we are currently producing bale wrap. It's not my area, to be honest with you. That's our Swedish guys. But I do know that we are currently producing bale wrap out of. If there's, I can get some information to these guys. But yes, the answer to the question is yeah. The answer to the question is yes. We are currently got recycled bale wrap on market.
Great.
Okay, lovely. There's a few questions on the Q&A. it's difficult for our dragons to be firing questions and answering questions at the same time. I mean, they're good, but they're not superhuman. So there's a few questions for Claire, but we'll ask her to answer those perhaps when we're done, and then she can not try and listen and type at the same time. So, and there's a couple of other questions, I think, in there, one for Lynn. So we'll ask the dragons to finish up when we're done and to take those questions. So if you've got any other questions for Clive and for Amir, then just pop them into the Q&A. Make sure that we know who you're asking that question to. So make that nice and clear and ask your question, and we'll ask Amir and Clive to keep an eye on the Q&A and to respond to those questions as they come in. We'll keep a recording of the Q&A. So that's why I'm asking you not to put them in the chat, but to use the Q&A, because we'll record that and we'll send that out to everybody so that you've got a record of questions and then the answers. So thank you very much, Clive. So well done. You survived that grilling, I thought, very well. So thank you very much indeed. So we're going to now move on to our third picture. So I've got Paul here, Paul Gilligan, and his colleague Ollie Boyd. So they're from the Magical Mushroom Company, and so we're going to listen to their video and then take some questions. So I'll put myself on mute.
Good morning, I'm Paul Gilligan. I'm co-founder and MD, and we're called the Magical Mushroom Company because we grow high-performing packaging solutions made out of fungi. We call it Planet Positive Packaging. We operate the UK's only large-scale mycelium-based packaging plant, which we call Mushroom One. We're also Europe's largest mycelium-based packaging plant. And we operate our plant out of Esher in Surrey, and it's a 5,000 square foot facility with a capacity for around 1.2 million pieces a year. We're currently running a capacity of 30%, so we do have plans for Mushroom 2 in the Midlands in early to mid next year. Now, it's one of nature's greatest secrets. The amazing root-like structure of mushrooms is called mycelium and plays a vital part in nature by cleaning debris off the forest floor. They recycle. And we recreate this natural process by growing large-scale protective packaging using upscaled agricultural waste such as hemp and cork. We offer a safe, sustainable, completely fossil fuel solution which is completely home compostable within 40 days. Our product is suitable for packaging, insulation and more. Now we grow these parts in our growing trays for around 6 days. We then take it out, put it in the kiln to dry for 18 hours to sterilise and stop any future growth. The result is an inner composite material which is a high-performing packaging solution which is cost comparable to polystyrene and other petrol-based polymer foams. Our first order was a very large export order for Lush Beauty, which went to 24 countries, including the US, Japan, Australia and Germany. We are Ecovative Design LLCs, who are the American patent holders, proud UK exclusive licensee for packaging, and will soon be starting on insulation and construction products. We currently use 4 tonnes a week of our substrate, which will rise to around 450 tonnes a year, which after it's served its life protecting important products, it then goes back to the soil rather than to the landfill. Thank you for listening.
Great. I'm sorry about the rendering there. It didn't, for me at least, it didn't. I didn't render very well. So apologies there for everybody. We will be hosting the videos on our website on a permanent basis. So if you want to go back and watch it after the show, just please do that. So welcome, Paul and Ollie. Thanks for your patience hanging on through the event. So I'm just going to ask Claire, Helen, and Lynn to take themselves off mute. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Just one quick point, actually. Sorry, a slip of the tongue. I said fossil fuel. It's 100% fossil fuel free. In case anyone pick that up.
I got that. Shall I go first?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul. That was really fascinating.
Thank you.
A couple of questions about the product again. You had a piece in your hand and you talked about Lush Beauty. I mean, how big can the product be? I mean, what sort of size of packaging can it extend to?
That's a good question. I mean, there's another piece here called a ubiquitous corner piece, which could be used in construction, but we form it in our trays in a thermoformer, and the standard size is 600 ml by 500 ml. So for mass production, it needs to fit within that parameter. But we can do larger ones as one-off, so we can do 2 metre by 1 metre. They're pretty difficult to grow, but we can also graft. So the process is 4 days in the tray, then we pop them out of the tray, and then have 2 days of overgrowth to get a nice soft finish. But we can grow those last two together at the last year, so they graft together to make larger pieces. Okay. So our American partners have made some pretty big structures.
So you create a mold, do you? And you make them in mold, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned hemp and cork. What are they part of the sort of the recipe, as it were?
Yeah. So the final product is 5% mycelium, which digests the agricultural waste, and I named 2 there. But it's 500 approved agricultural waste that can be used. So we can try anything really. The main component of mycelium, chitin, is able to digest the agricultural waste, then it should work.
Okay, fantastic. And again, just a quick note on price. I mean, how do you compare again with polystyrene? Yeah, polystyrene. Not polystyrene. Yeah, polystyrene.
We're cost comparable, and also we're being quite clever in the way we're doing the designs, in that we can use less of our materials to create the same protectional properties as polystyrene. So it's not hindering our progress at the moment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Claire.
Hi, Paul and Ollie. A couple of quick questions from me. Really good presentation again. I suppose one of the key questions that sprung to my mind is being based around fungi, and potentially the drying or the sterilising element gets rid of this, but how does it act in damp conditions? So sites are notoriously wet, damp, not very nice places a lot of the time. How does your product cope with that?
Well, it's naturally waterproof anyway, water resistant, hydrophobic. But actually this week, hot off the press, we've had it tested by, we're under NDA, so I can't say the name of the client, but it's had some pretty rigorous testing. So plus 50 degrees, 5 times for 5 hours, and minus 30 degrees, 5 times for 5 hours. So it's passed with flying colours. So its performance is equal, if not better, with its thermal properties to polystyrene.
Okay. And then a similar question I posed to Amir, really. So it looks very similar to sort of the conventional foams that we see around our products on construction sites. So again, if our operatives were to have the conventional product and also your product on our sites, depending on which manufacturers and suppliers they're using, how could they differentiate your product and make sure that it's disposed of correctly in terms of going to a composter?
Yeah, it's a good point. But it's different. We're completely home compostable. So this degrades back to the soil or anywhere you put it within 40 days. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ollie.
No, obviously there's always an educational element to any materials that are being disposed of, but essentially wherever our material ends up, it will have biodegrade, it will home compost within that time frame. So ideally,
yeah. The only caveat to that is it shows its great waterproofing and hydrophobic properties is that it will go back to the earth in 45 days in soil, but if it goes back to the ocean, it will take longer, about 180 days, but it will go in that time. So we've got all the testing studies for that. We've got ASDM, so the international standard, D6868. So it's been rigorously tested, and we're going to do our own EU, UK soil studies too. Thanks for the question.
So it's an enzymatic composting. So it's an inert composite until the material is broken, and then it starts the sort of digestion process.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi both. I think you've started to answer this question. So you mentioned a couple of times that it takes 40 days and it can go straight back to compost. If we wanted it to last longer than that, what's the longer time that it would last for? And is there scope for reusability at all, or how fast will it break down?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, you have to remember it's a tertiary or secondary packaging product, so it's designed, you know, to protect the product in transit. That's its use, and it's designed, you know, to go back to the earth. So yeah, I mean, it's very robust. If you see it, I mean, as Ollie said, it's an inert composite material, so in the right ambient conditions, it will stay in its form for years. As I said, the testing we did is designed, you know, for exporting things across the equator. So it's absolutely fine for that.
So in theory, if we had construction deliveries to site, for example, there's nothing to stop the supplier bringing it to site, taking back that packaging and reusing it again?
No, we'd absolutely encourage that, yeah, completely, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just another sort of business orientated question. How are you marketing it, and what's your sort of route to market?
Yeah, I mean, we are quite new. I mean, the product's not new. We're the newest exclusive licensee in the UK. So we've been operational for about 12 weeks. So as I said, we've got a run rate of 30% capacity now. So we're already planning our plant 2 next year, because we will run out of space quite soon. But we're just dealing with inbound leads at the moment. We are recruiting a sales team, but it's every time a new one gets launched, I know it's not related to the construction industry, but you know, as I said, it's very flexible. There are going to be solutions for it, but we're just dealing with inbound inquiries at the moment, which should be significant.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, Dragons, how are we doing? So are there any last final questions for Ollie and Paul?
Yeah, just a quick one. Are there any sort of directly competing products, Paul?
Not that we know of yet, no. I mean, if you're gonna, and there are other bio-based packaging that are great, such as paper foam, but it's more for the food industry and not as designed to be as robust as ours. Because not only does it have that humidity, you know, we're doing some expensive consumer electronics and has to have rigorous drop tests and rotation checks. We're pretty demanding on the product. The particular test we did was for a high-tech camera. So not really, no.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got a few questions that have come in, Paul, on the Q&A. There are also questions for Clive and Amir. So would you mind, guys, clicking on the Q&A, and there are questions for you in there. So if you could type your answer into the Q&A, Amir, Clive, that would be great. But Paul, there's a question come in here from, well, there's 2 questions really, but there's an anonymous attendee who's asked about health issues from emissions from the product fungus. Because he's saying that often they're not considered a good thing in homes. I just wondered if you'd answer that.
I think we have to understand as well, again, that's about the education, and I'm sure we'll be able to follow this up as well, but it's not actually mushrooms, it's the roots of mushrooms. So the mushroom never fruit. So imagine the analogy of a plant cutting rather than the actual flower. We have a rigorous QMS system, so it has to get below 9% moisture before it passes the QMS. So it's impossible for this product to become a mushroom. You know, it's a composite material. It's not a mushroom. Anything you want to add to that, Ollie?
I think you've covered it there, really.
Yeah.
We're working with a much earlier stage of the life cycle of the organism, and it's essentially kind of binding and consuming digesting the agricultural byproducts like hemp. Which we then dehydrate in the kiln, which creates its robustness.
It's a good question. It's a question we get asked every time, so it's a very valid question.
Okay, lovely. Thank you ever so much for that. I've got one from Chris Carslake, just asking about what's the difference in weight between polystyrene and your product? Is your product going to be a bit heavier?
It's not. Yeah, it's slightly heavier, slightly denser is probably the best word to describe it. But again, another good example, because I know that the carbon footprint is important as well, because it's heavier. It's going to be heavier on the loads. But working with a big oven manufacturer, for example, and we've managed to reduce the amount of mass of the polystyrene with ours, so it's equal in weight. So it's just about being clever, really, and rather than having big, long pieces of polystyrene, we're using lots of corners, which is really meaning that it weighs less.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
One more.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, are all the mushrooms grown locally to you? Are they UK based?
That's a good question. Not yet, but they are. We're just following the negotiations. Currently, we've got our manufacturers from the Netherlands, but our hemp that we bulk up with the mycelium is from Yorkshire.
Okay.
But because we're new, it's difficult. It's a big expense to open a mushroom plant, but that is work in progress. It won't be long.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much, Paul. Thank you, Ollie. Really useful, really interesting products, and 3 fantastic products. Everyone should be a winner, of course. So this is going to be quite tricky, because we are now going to ask you, the audience and the dragons, to have a think if we are going to really ask you to pick one of the products as a winner. And it's difficult, I know. I'm glad I don't have to choose, because I'm not sure I'll be able to be honest. But so Richard, perhaps we'll ask our audience first to, so we're going to put up a poll and ask you, so perhaps Richard, if I can hand over to you for a moment.
Yeah, here we are.
Okay, so we've got our, go on.
So we won't tell people the results until after the dragons have announced, I think. We've got about half of the votes in.
Okay, so keep your votes coming in. Keep your questions coming in as well. So any questions for our dragons and for our pitchers, just pop them in the Q&A. We might not be able to answer them all within the time frame, but we will ask both our dragons and our pitchers to hang on and to answer all of those questions before they head off. So please do keep them coming in. So if we can ask you to put your vote in, that would be super. I think we've got nearly everybody now.
Just around 75%. It is quite tight, so.
Right, okay, well, this is very tense. Very tense indeed. I'm glad I'm not voting.
Right, we'll give it 10 more seconds and then I think we'll close the poll.
Okay, so any last
3,
laggards
2.
that can't make up their mind, you've got to go and plump for something. Right, okay.
So I'll just keep that hidden away for a second and then
we'll keep that under wraps and keep the suspense going. So at this stage, thank you very much our audience for joining us and for voting. That's great. So we're actually on time, which is fantastic, because it's been quite a complex event. But what I'm going to do now is hand over to our dragons and ask them a slightly unenviable task of selecting a winner out of the 3 with a sentence or 2 on why it is that they've chosen that. So I'm going to start with Claire, because she's at the top of my screen. So Claire, I'm going to hand over to you and ask you to make a decision.
Yes, it was a really, really difficult decision. I was particularly intrigued with both Clive and Amir's products, both of the wrapping products, they're both something that we would be interested in as a company. So I would have a direct interest, and I would encourage both those companies to get in touch with me, because they do solve a problem for us. However, I have actually sort of chosen my winner, which is the mushroom product. The reason I like that is because there's no fossil fuels at all involved, and it actually moves us away from the concept of plastic. I also like the fact that that while the mushrooms aren't grown locally yet, it's hopeful that they could be grown locally, which means that we're growing more bio-based products. We're using the land for bio-based materials. So that's my sort of personal decision, and that's the one I'm putting my vote for.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks, Claire. That's really super. So I'm going to ask Helen now to take herself off mute and to share her thoughts.
Hi, similar to Claire, all very interesting presentations and products. I am very split between all of them. I think, although I'm very interested in Magical Mushroom Company, especially as you're very close to where we're based in Cobham in Surrey, I'm actually going to have Treetop, so Amir, as my selection. I think the scope of the product in terms of construction materials is just a bit broader in terms of the wraps and the different types of packaging that Treetop BioPack sounds like it might be able to help resolve. So yeah, then my vote goes to Treetop BioPack.
Okay, all right. This is very interesting, isn't it? It's all down to the bottom, to the wire. So Lynn, I'm going to ask you to take yourself off mute and to share with us your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think all three products give solutions to stuff we're looking at the moment, and I think they're all great products in their own right. Yeah, really interesting from all three. I think for myself, the winner will be the one that gives a variety of product that allows us to tackle the construction challenges that we're facing at the moment, and that would be Treetop BioPack. I think it'd be really good to catch up afterwards and find out a little bit more detail around the products. But yeah, that really solves the challenges that we're looking at the moment.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so from our dragons, we have a clear winner. So, well, when I say clear, well, we have a winner. But so, Richard, I'm going to hand over to you and to reveal our audience vote.
Okay, here we go.
Right, all right. So we have an audience who've come in for Paul and for Ollie. So 58%. Is that right, Richard?
That's right. So we have two winners.
Yes, okay. So, well, that's fantastic, isn't it? We've got three winners, really. I think they're three absolutely fantastic products. So I'd like to see all of these products succeed and develop. So I'd like to think that we'll have an ongoing relationship with everybody. Yeah, we can help you grow and introduce you to contacts, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, so well, congratulations everybody. Thanks ever so much for taking. It's been a real pleasure to work with all of you. It's been a really interesting and successful event. Our next event is going to be on, so this is a slightly different event, but our focus is going to be around services. So if you've got any suggestions for companies that you think might be able to pitch, we've got three fantastic dragons. So we've got a sustainable ventures capitalist, so that's quite intriguing, and Accord Housing, who of course have got their seminar this afternoon on their 12 plastic-free houses. Lots of lessons, lots of interesting challenges they came up against and overcome. Not all of them, must be said. And we've got Carol Costello, our final dragon, next month from Cullinan Architects. And then, of course, we're on to flooring finishes and paints and building elements. So please do just drop me a line, simon@asbp.org.uk. If you've got any suggestions for potential pictures, that'll be super. So just remains for me to say thank you for my fantastic, and thank you all to our attention. And we've recorded this event, so it'll be up on our website shortly, and we'll have all the pictures and videos up there too. And last but not least, we're just kicking off an Interreg project, which is nice as we've now left Europe, but I'm pleased to say that we managed to get the last train out of Waterloo. And so we're on a 2-year funded project called BioCirc, which is looking at one of sort of the waste problems that we have, which is duvets, because they can't go to charity shops. So we're just looking at if we can refiberize them and resanitize them. So sign up to our newsletter to hear more about this interesting project. We're just kicking off. So thanks everybody. It's been a real pleasure seeing you all. Perhaps if I ask our dragons and pitches to stay with us just for a moment, and we'll have 5 minutes burned down, and just cross our T's and dot our I's, and I'll say cheerio to our audience. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event next week, of course, all about EPDs, Environmental Product Declarations. Quite complex documents to actually to understand and to work up, but we aim to share some light